I am Jeffrey Villaduen in a custom scenario by the one and only Paladin Bob from the amazing Imjin War mod, a Chinese-Korean total conversion mod for Medieval 2 Total War. This is a pizza-worthy battle, that is a long battle, so maybe order one before we start. And it is a very bloody battle too. At the end of the Sengoku period, Toyotomi Hideyoshi was established as the shogun in Japan, and he realized he had a problem as Japan was full of veteran warriors who took pride in their skill in battle. To avoid the possibility of uprisings, he decided to invade Korea, ultimately aiming to attack China. The war became known as the Imjin War, and one of the first battles was the Siege of Dongnae, which is the subject of this amazing custom scenario. The Japanese attacked at the break of dawn. The prefect of Dongnae gathered all the men who could fight and barricaded himself in the castle. The Japanese sent a messenger with a simple message: "Fight if you want, or let us pass." The Korean commander's reply has become the stuff of legend in Korea. He said, "It is easy for me to die, but difficult to let you pass." He took up his position in the upper story of the great gate of the fortress according to Korean custom, and there he beat upon a great drum to urge his men to fight. And so started the historical Siege of Dongnae. Paladin Bob was super kind to put together this amazing custom scenario for an online battle to honor that historical event. There are 6 players, 4 attackers, and 2 defenders. The attackers are stronger and practically certain to win, but the real contest is not the one between attackers and defenders, but one between the attackers themselves. There are 2 clans, the Toyotomi and the Tokugawa, and they are going to compete about who is going to fight more bravely or perhaps more cunningly. The faction that will score the most points will win. There will be 1 point of honor for the first clan to enter the fortress, 1 point for the first to engage Korean artillery unit, 2 victory points for getting the most kills as a clan, and 3 points for being the first to enter the fortress square. The clan that has suffered the fewest casualties has the best chance to make it first to the square, so this translates into a situation that to get the most honor, you must let the other clan go in first, which then would play into the defenders' hands, as neither clan would want to attack first. But there is the other possibility that, by attacking very fast, you could unsettle and confuse the defenders and perhaps storm into the fortress so fast that you could win all the points and even get into the plaza first. It is unlikely this would work against experienced players, but I'm not one to sit around and watch others fight my battle. So here is the Toyotomi clan, our clan. There was another catch, that each attacker could only attack with half his units first. The other half would become available after 15 minutes had passed by to simulate a piecemeal assault that started early in the dawn and continued through the day, with more and more men being thrown into the battle as the siege progressed. Now the players and defenders were Paladin Bob and an American YouTuber called Bacon Bite, each one of them commanding 20 units. The Toyotomi here had 2 armies of 20 units each, but of unequal quality. I was commanding the elite army, and Stevo the Bull commanded the weaker army. The Tokugawa clan to our left also had 2 armies, also of 20 units each. The elite army was commanded by Sin of the Dark Cloud, and the weaker units were commanded by the Untamed Wolf. And here are the advancing army. Here's some cavalry of the Toyotomi. It is my cavalry, a unit of light samurais and a unit of archers. And here is the army of Paladin Bob. He has some rocket launchers up here on this hill, supported also by a tower that fires arrows. Here are some more Korean units, and over here is the army of Bacon Bite. He has evacuated his side and he's moving his men towards the fortress. But he has left one unit to guard a pass, so we cannot get in through that flank. So here's the army of Paladin Bob. He's also evacuating some of his units, taking them back into the fortress. And here is his general. He was guarding that pass, but seeing that my cavalry is advancing towards the center, he's sending his general to support the units in the center. He probably was not expecting we would attack straight at the center, and I was gambling everything on that. So here's my general, the commander of our Toyotomi clan, at least of the Toyotomi division. Here's again the Toyotomi division. I was set up way at the back near the end of the map. The fortress is at the opposite end of this map, so we have a long distance to cover. Here are our units. Here's a unit of the Toyotomi commanded by my friend Steve the Bull. Here are more Toyotomi units. Here's a ladder. The ladder is moving forward. More Toyotomi units. And the cavalry, there is my cavalry approaching the center of the enemy lines. No, actually, these samurais are of the allied Toyotomi army of Steve the Bull. And my cavalry is already way ahead. You can see there are trails of dust that their horses are kicking up. So our enemy had brought some cavalry, some skirmishing cavalry out here to try and delay us and harass us so they could fire at us with the rocket launchers they had. And here is my light samurai cavalry. Here are the Korean mounted skirmishers, very glorious looking. They are harassing our army as the Toyotomi clan is approaching the center of the enemy line. Here is our horse archers, and they are now skirmishing back. They start getting hit by arrows from the enemy, and they ought to go on loose formation at this stage. You also have some light samurai cavalry, and they are about to charge the enemy horsemen. And predictably, the enemy horsemen now will try to retreat. On the other hand, I am suffering enormous casualties and I have no other cavalry. This is all the cavalry I have. So if I lose this cavalry, it will be lethal. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to go past the two infantry units guarding the pass in the distance and attack, respectively, the two units of rocket launchers. So one of these cavalry units had been given orders to attack one of the rocket launchers, the other cavalry unit to attack the other rocket launcher. However, the mounted archers were on skirmish mode, and the other unit, the light samurais, were cut to pieces by these horse archers and also by archers firing from the hill. And so I'm down to one cavalry unit, and the prospect of taking their rocket launchers is now gone. There's no chance. So I just have a handful now of missile cavalry, and since they've been fired at by everyone, I've decided to charge them into melee. And here are the enemy units. So Bacon Bite is retreating his units towards the fortress. The fortress at the moment seems unguarded, so that's a good thing. The enemy is not expecting we are going to attack the fort. They're not prepared for an attack. So there's no one on the walls. Their units are back here. And they're moving some men into the fort, into the second layer. They had some light artillery, so they're probably bringing their artillery to put it on the walls here. And here's the fortress, plaza. This is the place that will give us 3 victory points if we get there first. Here's an overview of the battlefield. Here are again my mounted archers. My light samurai here have been routed, but my mounted archers are still alive and they're skirmishing. They are being fired at by everyone. And of course they're hitting back, killing some of the enemy horsemen. And now I've decided to charge them into the enemy horsemen. It will be a 1v1 exchange. I'm also hoping now to buy time for my infantry to catch up, because while the enemy horsemen are now engaged in melee, they cannot fire at my approaching infantry while running as fast as they can. And in addition, my friend and ally, Steve the Bull, is bringing over some heavier samurai cavalry. Now they're about to go over the crest of this little hill and attack the enemy mounted archers, who are still engaged in melee against my archers. And so that was perfect timing. They got here in time, they attacked the enemy archers. Unfortunately, the enemy archers had already seen them, the mounted archers, and they are disengaging, even if slowly. And my ally at this point, I guess, lost his nerve. Rather than pursuing them and forcing them to abandon the field of battle and then take the enemy artillery, he just pulled away. And so I was left again with these 3 mounted skirmishers who are down to 2, and now I'm going to put them into a shooting circle. There's another dead skirmisher there. I had 4, they're down to 2. They're going to a firing circle. And maybe you can see them circling around a point, and now the enemy mounted archers are firing at them, but of course they cannot kill them anymore in this formation. So you can see they're ready to fire them, but they cannot kill them. And so they're wasting their arrows, but I have no cavalry to either bypass this block here. We also see Paladin Bob's general here, there he is, and attack the artillery or chase any of the retreating units. There are some archers retreating towards the fort. On the other hand, my ally, my Toyotomi ally, had some cavalry, but he decided to pull them away. And he pulled them out behind this hill. I think this wasn't a very good move. I mean, the point of cavalry is that they have mobility. And the other thing is, this is a siege battle, so this is the opportunity to use them now that the enemy is outside. Never mind. So, on the other hand, Bacon Bite, who had these defending units defending this side, is now pulling back his main force, including his rocket launchers, and he is sending that cavalry to delay and distract us from chasing down his retreating men. And his men are retreating very casually, they're not even running. So here's his cavalry, and he's making a flanking attack to draw attention away from the fact that he's retreating his army. And he is about to attack the cavalry of my Toyotomi clanmate, Stevo the Bull. So here's Bacon Bites cavalry, the Korean cavalry, and they have not much chance to do anything. He's sacrificing his cavalry. He has no better thing to do with his cavalry, so he's decided to just send them to their deaths and take some of our horse down. And in the meantime, he's distracting our cavalry force from attacking his vulnerable retreating infantry and artillery. So all our cavalry now is engaged, which leaves our friends, the Tokugawa, free to sweep around the other side with their cavalry and attack the enemy artillery and get one victory point. And so the cavalry battle here goes on. And finally, we have won this battle here. And Bacon Bites cavalry is retreating, has been routed. And in the meantime, of course, the Tokugawa have not been idle. So here's the Tokugawa army. Here are our real opponents. We have to beat them. And they are very slowly walking up towards the left side of the enemy deployment. And they are completely unopposed here. In the meantime, back in the center, I have some ninjas, and they are very vulnerable, although they have a lot of hit points. They have no armor, so they're extremely vulnerable to anything. On the other hand, they're also very deadly if they can do their tricks. And so here they are running as fast as they can towards the enemy center, and their plan is to kill the enemy general, basically. They have some things they can throw that will kill anyone or anything. There are some spinning kind of machetes of some kind, these things you've seen in movies, and they can throw them, and with that they can kill very heavily armored units, including also they can destroy with them artillery pieces and stuff like that. And so now they've been engaged with some enemy light cavalry, these light skirmishing horsemen, and they are murdering them, of course. They'd be less successful against heavy cavalry, but if they can kill the enemy general with their spinning machetes, that would be great. And so the enemy light cavalry is now retreating, and this is the opportunity. This is something the heavy samurai cavalry could have done. They could have spread panic. I mean, it's not as if the enemy light cavalry can just skirmish around the map. There is no map. The fortress is in the corner, so they have to go that way. So we could have forced them to go back if we had attacked with more resolve. So here's the general of Paladin, Bob. And he's trying to attack our ninjas, but he was stopped or delayed by our light cavalry. We lost our light cavalry, but delayed his attack. And now we are throwing spinning machetes at the enemy general. Unfortunately, he ran away. We're also bringing some Naginata samurai here to engage the enemy general. Unfortunately, they just stopped there. They stopped charging the enemy general for some reason, and so he pulled off a good charge, killed a couple of our ninjas. Our ninjas are throwing their spinning machetes. They cannot kill their enemy general. Here's Paladin Bob's general over here on the right. He's been attacked by our ninjas and our Naginata samurais. He's been bloodied, but pulled it through. He runs through Naginata samurais. He survives anyway. It's hard to kill. And come on, hurry up, people, hurry up. I don't know, for some reason you give them orders and then they send one guy forward and all the others stop. So finally they have charged the enemy Korean units guarding the pass here. And now there's a bloody melee over on the side, and our enemy has been broken. and they run for their lives. And there are more units in the distance retreating, and now we are running after the retreating units. We are chasing the horse archers with our infantry. This is how ridiculous it is. I wish I had some cavalry left, or help from some cavalry. And here are some of our Teppo Ashigaru firing at the enemy. And on this side now are the Tokugawa. And the Tokugawa cavalry saying that the majority of the enemy army out here has been engaged with the Toyotomi, have free field to outflank the enemy. The Koreans have one spear unit here. It's one of the units of Paladin Bob. But they cannot guard this entire area with one unit. And the other thing is they did something silly and turned around or something, so they got charged in the rear. That was a careless move by Paladin Bob, and so his spearmen have been charged in the rear. This is the other cavalry unit that has sneaked past, and they are riding up that hill, and you can see that arrow tower on the top, and behind this arrow tower, Paladin Bob had his rocket launchers. And the rocket launcher crew gets charged in the rear by the Tokugawa cavalry, and the Tokugawa clan wins the first victory point, the first point in this contest. They also had an archer unit up on that hill, and seeing that there's now Tokugawa cavalry running around, they try to run back to the fortress, but they were very, very slow. Too late to do this. They were shooting all this time at my men, and now they're being killed by the Tokugawa. A very easy prey, very easy kills. And you can see the rest of the enemy army retreating. Here are some of my Naginata running after the enemy cavalry. Here are more units. They are now running towards the fortress. And what is the enemy cavalry going to do? They have to get back into the fortress. So if you had cavalry, you had none left. But anyone who had cavalry, had they charged towards the enemy gate at this point, they would have forced the enemy army into panic around. So I'm just running after the enemy cavalry with my Naginata infantry. For some reason he stopped there. He didn't run back to the gate, and for some reason my men stopped as well. You give them an order, then one guy runs forward, and then they wait for the other guys to catch up or something. And look what is going on. Come on, fight back! Oh man, the level of babysitting you have to do sometimes. Come on, where are we waiting for? There must be some guys left behind. They're waiting for them or something. And so here's the rest of my army. They're running madly towards the gate to force the enemy to retreat and trap as many of them as they can before they can get through the gate. And, you know, my infantry got to the gate before any of the cavalry of my allies got there. So I don't know what they were doing. So the Koreans are running as fast as they can. Some of their units are broken, but not all of them. Some are in good order, but they're running back as fast as they can. And here's some of the enemy cavalry. This is one of the enemy bodyguards, one of the enemy generals. He's gonna make it back. And here are the rocket launchers, and they are going to make it back into the fortress. Damn it. And my men are running and running, but there's no way they're gonna catch up with the rocket launchers. Here we are. Jeffrey's Toyotomi samurais. Here's the other enemy general. This is probably Paladin Bob's general. And he's trying to get into the fortress. He's just managed. Here are my samurais running madly, only a few meters behind them. And don't stop, please run. Okay, at least we managed to get through the gate before they closed it, so that's something. And now we are hit by enemy archers, but at least we've got the gate, so that's something. We don't have to wait for siege rams and ladders and so on. On the other hand, we only have the gate, and so this is going to be a battle of attrition out here, but we have more men, so that's still okay. So here's the fighting of the gate. The enemy has sent in some spearmen. They're pushing our men back. So the enemy spearmen are doing really well. The problem here is like twofold. First of all, the enemy has mostly spearmen, and the spearmen fight very densely in a block. They're very effective in that way. Secondly, they're fighting downhill. Our men are mostly samurai swordsmen, and samurai swordsmen send one guy forward and the other guys sit behind and cheer and wave the swords. And that means that if you kill that one guy, then you make a lot of progress because there's no one behind them. They are cheering us some distance away, waving the swords. So in a contest between spearmen and swordsmen, the spearmen make more progress, finally. And so this is what's happening here, both because of the fact that fighting downhill and because they're fighting in a more organized and compact way. The Korean spearmen are making progress down towards the gate, and they're trying to push my men out. And I have some ninjas here. They're just running around doing nothing. I asked them to fire the enemy, and they're doing much. Maybe they're looking for a better place to fire the enemy. They're just running around doing very little. And so I had to force them to move them closer to the door by double clicking something. They're also being hit by fire from the tower, from the gate. And I'm also clicking on my other units, is Naginata, to charge, and half of them charge out and then charge back in. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, some of this pathfinding is crazy. And so they charge out and then charge back in. It's pointless. And what I wanted them to do is to go forward inside and not give ground, but instead of going inside, they actually go out and give them more ground. And the ninjas are doing their acrobatics here. Very interesting animation. This isn't a vanilla animation. The modders created this animation. Very clever how they did it. And so the fighting here goes on, but I'm making one step forward and two steps back. Even the Koreans are now pouring out of the gate. And I also had some firebombers here who didn't manage to throw a single firebomb. They're completely useless, very sad, very frustrating. I thought even just one firebomb would have done something, but they didn't manage to fire a single firebomb. So the enemy is sacrificing some of their cavalry. There are some allies. Toyotomi bringing a ladder, or it's a group with ladders, and they brought the ladders here, and they wanted to put it on the wall, but watch what is going on. Watch these ladders. It's like a merry-go-round, and they've been fired from the towers with arrows all the time. Just can't put the ladders on the walls. I mean, this is something that happens in very tight spaces. You might have seen it also in vanilla sieges sometimes. If you try to put ladders and it's a very tight space, unless you do it from some way out, it will bag out. If you try to do it just before the walls, the ladders will bag out, and that's what happened. And so I have men, there are some, even some, Tokugawa here. Some Tokugawa have arrived. That's very nice. But they're doing nothing, they're just running around, and now they're pulling back. They thought we could have put ladders on the walls and they could have gone in. This Tokugawa? So my Toyotomi ally has dropped the ladders, got frustrated. If he had tried to get them to another wall, it would have worked. But if you just go before the wall and then try to put the ladders on, then they bug out. And now finally I managed to get my own ladder crew, and they're going to put the ladders on the walls. So these wonderful Yari samurais, and they're a very, very good unit. They are called Konishi Yukinaga's Yari samurai. They're a very, very good unit, and they're bringing up the ladders. Perhaps I should have not given the ladder to this unit, but to a sword unit. The swords are better fighting on the walls. They are not so good fighting at the gate. On the other hand, heavy pikemen like these ones would have been very good fighting at the gate. That was a very bad mistake of mine. This probably cost me the battle here. It just cost me huge casualties. I should have done it the other way around. I even had some samurai retainers, and I threw them at the gate, and they were just dancing around doing little. Had they been on the walls, they would have been much more useful. And so my Konishi Yukinaga Yari samurai have put the ladders on the walls, and now we're about to get onto one of the walls at least. We only had a ladder per player. So since one of our ladders backed out, we only had one ladder. And here are the Koreans waiting for us to go up the walls. And they are shooting at us, also waiting with a spear polearm type unit. And so now my infantry finally makes it to the wall, because the gate has been a death field. We're going backward at the gate. We needed to get men on the walls. And also have some archers who are firing at whoever they can. And the samurais come down from the very top. Who cares? Never mind. It looks kind of funny. That kind of looks cool. Look at this guy with his flag or whatever. It must have been massive. Quite a feat to take it up a ladder onto the walls. And so now we're making progress. Finally we're making progress somewhere. So the enemy now has some artillery. They put it up on the second layer of walls. They're about to fire at our units as they're coming up that ladder. And the Tokugawa, seeing that the artillery starts firing at us, pulled out at this point. That's very dishonorable. They just pulled out of range, so they cannot be hit by the enemy artillery, and the Toyotomi were left to do all the fighting. Now we've routed this unit here, and they're running for their lives. And now I'm clicking madly, really madly, to get my men off the walls and over here to this side. The enemy general, one of the enemy generals, has attacked our infantry trying to get through the gate. We brought everyone here. We'll have monks, we'll have everybody. And we're really struggling. This is like, bloodbath over here. I've lost so many men trying to get through the gate because of the enemy archers also on the second layer of walls. Look, they're firing madly. They've been firing at my men all the time. Luckily, we were under the gate. Otherwise, there would have been nobody left by now. And there are more reserves waiting for us. They're waiting to join the fray. Also, arrows being fired at the men on the walls. And here's the fighting at the gate. Everyone is covered in blood. I've lost all my ninjas by now. The fire bombers were just completely wasted. Didn't shoot a single thing. It would have been better to use the fire bombers on the walls once the walls were taken and throw fire bombs from the side. That would have been successful on this side. But to be honest, by now, I hardly had very many men left. So I never thought, I thought this was going to be like the end. You'll never go through. Because, just one choke point and my men were being just slaughtered. Everyone, all the enemy units were fighting at this point. And so you can see now, there are some units on the top there, trying to flank the enemy. Finally, they moved their bottoms and they are coming this side. They are the Konishi Yukinaga's Yari samurais. They tried to attack the enemy general, but he pulled away. They were a little bit too slow. And they're chasing after him. I'm really clicking madly at all my units to attack. Look at these guys here. They're fighting against one single Korean soldier, and they're all stuck there. They will not move forward. Very annoying. It's the fact that if you attack with swordsmen or some sword type unit, maybe even the same with Naginata sometimes, they send one guy forward and then the other guys sit back and watch. And because of the crazy pathfinding, most of them go out first and then come back. Anyway, so finally more units are coming in. Even my archers are coming in to fight as a melee unit because I have no more units left. And the firing from the walls is just murdering my army. I'm the only one really fighting here so far. The other Toyotomi army is mostly sitting outside, although maybe there've been a unit already coming up the ladders on the wall on the left. And my archers are firing arrows here, flaming arrows at the enemy. The enemy is firing arrows at Konishi Yukinaga, the Konishi Yukinaga Yari samurais who are out here, and they are mixed in with the enemy spearmen. You can see some of them here on the left. Over here. They are being shot at from the walls, but they are pushing on. They've been divided into two groups because of the crazy pathfinding. Well, they're so slow that some of their mates were left behind. And here's the fighting at the gate still going on, still arrows hitting my men who are dying. And of course my chances now of contributing much to the rest of the battle are very low. There is a couple of units now of a couple of Tokugawa units are coming in. Here's the enemy army on top of the second layer with their artillery, with their archers. Yeah, more archers. They also have some melee infantry in the rear. You can see them in the background. But the archers have been killing my men all this time. They're just shooting arrows, just constantly. And here are those rocket launchers of Bacon Bite that he managed to rescue that were outside. And now they are being set up on the walls to fire at our men below. More samurais are coming in. Here are my men. Just handfuls of men left per unit. And some of the Toyotomi army is now, you can see there are flags, they are gathering outside the gate, but the Tokugawa are still conspicuous by their absence. Some firing more flaming arrows. Any help would be much appreciated. So finally, the Toyotomi of Steve the Bull are coming in through the main gate. They're coming in force. By this time I was so desperate, I had very little left. I had decided to charge my general into the fray. At this point I probably had no more than 100 men left. So I thought, all for one and one for all. So here's the general. Is very bloodied. Here he is. He's covered in blood. He has this colorful, unusual helmet and doesn't have a balloon on his back. He has his horns on his helmet. Here he is at the center. And you can imagine, he is so bloodied. How long is he going to live? So there are some Korean spearmen or pole armors or whatever they are, armed with pole arms. And one of them has already taken a strike at my general. The other ones are holding their ground. Another strike at my general, and one more strike. How long is he going to live? And one more strike now. There. And that was the end of my general. The rest of the bodyguard fight on bravely. Whatever I managed to kill at this point, that's it. After the bodyguard dies, I'll be left with something around 60 men. There will be 3 of Konishi Yukinaga's Yari Samurai left. 2 Teppo units, a maximum of 50 men between them. And some samurai sword unit with just a couple of men who were around. So here are some Yari, Ashigaru, and some samurais of my clanmate, Steve the Bull. I have a couple of Konishi Yukinaga's Yari samurai still left. Maybe I have more than 3 at this point. I think this guy at the front here is one of them. Probably have about a dozen at this point, but they will not all survive. So I took the brunt of all the early fighting to break through the choke point out, then to get through the bridge. That was not too bloody. To get through the gate, it was extremely bloody. To get onto the walls and fight off the enemy off the walls turned out to be very bloody. That's the end of the last of the bodyguards. They committed harakiri for failing to protect their general. And more men are coming down the walls now. Finally, we're pushing at the rear of the enemy, and Steve the Bulls, Toyotomi, samurais, Toyotomi units are coming in. And finally, the enemy has decided to abandon the fighting for the gate and pull back. They've realized now we've taken the walls and we are about to outflank them here. And also the Tokugawa had made it in. They went up that ladder. And so this was a bloodbath for us. First of all, we had to bring the ladders, and our men were being shot at while bringing the ladders. The Tokugawa just came in using our own ladder. And then we're shot by all those units on the second layer of the wall all this time. I mean, we're just massacred. And so we've got few men left. My clanmate still has some men left. But I'm down now to probably less than 60 men altogether. So the Tokugawa are now coming in. Those were the units of Untamed Wolf, these ones. And one of the enemy generals charged them and was about to rout them. Here, the units of Untamed Wolf. They've also been fired at by archers, enemy archers. One of the units of Sin of the Dark Cloud has been routed. More Tokugawa coming in under a hail of arrows. And they've engaged this Korean unit with these enormous shields. Some Tokugawa Yari Ashigaru are engaged here by one of the enemy generals. I'm not sure if this was Paladin Bob's general or Bacon Bite's general. I think it was Bacon Bite's general. He's routed another unit, some more Ashigaru, and more Ashigaru are being fired at. They are pulling back. So more men of Sin of the Dark Cloud are coming in. And here are my last three remaining melee soldiers. They are the last three of Konishi, Yukinaga, Yari, Samurai. And they are about to attack one of the enemy generals who is sitting there. And we've cornered him. And engaged his bodyguard in hand-to-hand combat. And we are doing well at the moment. We've killed half of his bodyguard with 3 samurais. Another one has gone down. And sadly, those brave, valiant fellows are dead. Killed a couple more. I was firing also with some Teppo unit at his bodyguard. Killed 2 more with my Teppo unit. So I nearly got his general, but not quite. I think his general survived, unfortunately. And here are those units on the second layer of the walls. And they're also firing with the arrows. There's a rain of arrows coming down at the units below. These archers look amazing, they look wonderful. They've done a great job with this mod. I mean, the custom settlements are amazing. Look at this. I mean, they're just the custom settlements are just extraordinary. And the units are nice as well. I mean, they are better than the vanilla units. I mean, they're excellent. A very good job. Fantastic job from the modders. And so, more Tokugawa engage the enemy here. They are of the Sin of the Dark Cloud units. And here, the enemy, the Koreans, the defenders, had these rocket launchers. They're at the distance. They're ready to start firing. Oh, this is just murder. So they are firing at the soldiers of Sin of the Dark Cloud. Look, they're landing on those men. They're packed in sort of hand-to-hand combat with some Koreans. They are being murdered. And the Koreans are holding their ground here. And here's that General Bodyguard. I'm firing with him with my Tepo units. I only have 2 Tepo units, but that's all I'm left with at this point. I have 2 Tepo units. 1 Samurai with 7 men, and 1 Ashigaru with about 40 men. And the Tokugawa are bringing in more men. My clanmate, Steve of the Bull, still had some units left because he got into the fray late. But I think he is fighting some scattered enemy units. So the Tokugawa have attacked, or tried to attack the rocket launchers here, but the defenders had the spear unit, and they counterattacked and mauled the Tokugawa cavalry. They also had some ninjas here, the Tokugawa. Sin of the Dark Cloud had a unit of ninjas. So what he's going to do now is going to be very clever, you can watch. So he's throwing his cavalry at this unit. It's suicidal, of course, but then I guess he has no better use for the cavalry. And some of the cavalry tries to get around them. Here they have attacked the crew of the rocket launchers. And they're dying fast, they're falling like flies. But the Tokugawa ninjas are about to do a very clever thing. You remember they have these spinning machetes, and they have very high damage, about 32 or so. And so you can use them to take down things like generals and so on, very heavily armored units, but you can use them to destroy things that are very hard to destroy conventionally. For example, the rocket launchers. So they're going to throw their spinning thingies at the actual rocket launchers. I'm also bringing some Tepo to fire at them, but my Tepo are taking forever. I don't know what they're doing actually now. They shouldn't be charging like that. They have already destroyed some of the 2 of the rocket launchers. They're doing their acrobatic display. Now they've been engaged. He must have clicked on the right thing. Rather than asking them to throw their spinning thingies, he ordered them into melee or something by mistake. Now he's about to throw the spinning thing. Well, he managed. He's trying to destroy that. There he does it. He destroyed another rocket launcher. Very good. And he's still alive. He's still alive. He's doing his jumping displays. I think his fate is sealed now. He's probably dead. Can't see him anymore. Oh, there he is. He's died. Okay, and so the enemy now has decided they forget about those rocket launchers, and they are heading back into the second layer. And we've got a lot of Tepo units here. Someone guessed my thinking. So they brought the Tepo units to kill those spearmen. And the spearmen have been charged, they have been broken. All this cavalry, what was it doing all this time? Where were they when we needed them outside the fortress? It looks like our enemy forgot another rocket launcher unit out here. And now the cavalry is charging in, and some of the Toyotomi are going in. So the Toyotomi were the first to go into the second layer. That's something. Maybe we should have gotten a point for this as well. And the enemy here has a handful of spearmen, and these guys with the swords are archers who fired all their arrows, and they are fighting in melee. So they fired all their arrows at my men, and now they're fighting in melee with the swords against the Tokugawa. Now these archers are being mauled by the enemy cavalry. Luckily they have some spearmen here, but the enemy cavalry is just running through them. And he's losing some men, but in the meantime he's caused them to break by running through them. And he's also charging other retreating units, especially archers, who were standing on the wall. They're very vulnerable. So the enemy had tons of archers up here, and now they've been murdered. It's just been slaughtered. It's just easy kills. My God. Now the enemy's just running. They are being just murdered. And this isn't a battle anymore. This is massacre. And to our credit, I think the Toyotomi got through that gate first as well. So, well done, Steve the Bull. But unfortunately pulled out because of all these spearmen inside. It doesn't look very healthy standing around here. So the enemy spearmen rallied, and there are also some spearmen inside. They also have some heavy units inside. They have some guard unit or something. And so it's very difficult to get inside into this fortress plaza. We routed one of the units of Paladin Bob. They're going back in. Some of these units have fought in previous fights, and they had been routed, and so their morale is now low. If they leave the plaza, then the morale goes down. So plenty of Toyotomi units here. Thank you, Steve the Bull. You make our clan proud. And these guys here, they are my last 7 samurais. 7 Teppo samurais. And they are here to fire at somebody. I also have a Teppo Shigari unit there somewhere further away. These 7 got here first, and they're about to fire at some Korean monks who are on the other side of this building. Here are those Korean monks. They're engaged with a samurai unit. These are Paladin Bob's Korean monks, and he also has some archers behind this unit. But the archers have been surprised by a cavalry charge. They've been charged in the rear, and that's why the monks are now running back. You can see in the distance there's some cavalry. I think the cavalry was the bodyguard of Sin of the Dark Cloud, and he's charged the archers who were here, completely mauled them. Actually, no, it's not the bodyguard of Sin of the Dark Cloud, is it? Maybe it is. It's a Tokugawa flag. But I didn't think Sin of the Dark Cloud had that emblem. I think he was the second army. Never mind. I'm not sure. It must be his, because the other guy did not have a cavalry bodyguard. His general was not in a cavalry unit. So it has to be Sin of the Dark Cloud, and he's charged that archer unit, completely mauled him, probably lost nobody, and now he's surrounded these Korean monks who are running back and forth, charging this way and that, but their cause is lost. And our temple units are now firing into the fortress square. Sin of the Dark Cloud has brought his temple units here. He has some temple samurais. They're firing at the Koreans inside the fortress square. And Paladin Bob decides to send some of his men out to silence them. Sin of the Dark Cloud also had some firebombers who he hadn't used so far, and they're also waiting out here for the perfect opportunity. This is a perfect opportunity. So rather than retreating his temples, he leaves them there, brings in some katana samurais, and starts throwing firebombs at the unit that sallied out. And the unit that sallied out is now hard pressed. They're actually a good unit, they have good morale, but they're being fired at by the temple samurais, attacked on the flank with the katana samurais. They had fire bombs thrown at them. Their morale must be low by now. More shots from the temple samurais, and they decide to retreat. They've lost a lot of men there. They're fired at in the rear. More temple units are coming in. These are our temple units, Toyotomi. But the enemy, seeing that we brought temple units out here, decides to charge in to stop us from scoring kills. And so now the Tokugawa temple unit is again at the front, and they are firing at the Koreans up above. Also, a few katana samurais are going in very tentatively. Crazy pathfinding again. They go back in order to go forward, and one gets stabbed in the rear. The enemy is now throwing into the fray his pikemen. Looks like it's a pike type units. Spearmen look more like pikemen. It's a very good use of pikemen. And they're being fired at by the temple guys, at the same time being attacked by katana samurais. Also, one of the bodyguards was charged in. Dear, the bodyguard unit is very bloodied. I'm not sure that was a good idea. Okay, they're going back out again, and lots and lots of Naginata guys are going in. Though the bodyguard keeps fighting, everyone has gone in. So that's probably Sin of the Dark Cloud's bodyguard. He's probably trying to score as many kills as he can. This is his chance. So this is a wonderful view, wonderful melee. Everyone is going in. There's dust and smoke everywhere. And all these spears and pikes and naginata and flags sticking up into the air. It looks amazing. And the Toyotomi and Tokugawa push forward. They were first to get into the fortress square. Will get 3 points. And that's probably why the cavalry is charging madly up this hill to get there first. Doesn't matter if you lose your general now. I mean, this battle is won anyway. But rather than our cavalry, some monks make it to the plaza. You can see the first ones here. You can see one running. He's made it to the plaza first. He's given 3 points to whoever this monk belonged to. And I think there's another monk up here. There's 3 of them now. And so I think these monks belong to Sin of the Dark Clouds, so they are Tokugawa monks. They're doing well. And so Tokugawa got another 3 points. And so for certain they have won now. This is the view from above. Because the other point, the other winning victory condition was whoever gets the most kills. Even if we get the most kills, that will give us 2 points. But because they got into the plaza, that'll give them 3 points. We are 1-1 so far. So if we get 2 points, they get 3 points, they win anyway. So by getting those monks into the plaza, they won. We lost. But we fought with more honor. We didn't sit around and watch our allies die. So these are the last moments of the battle. A wonderful scene, nonetheless. So that was the battle, and here are the results. The first 2 factions are the Toyotomi. Steve-O the Bull and myself, I had the elite army, and the second one. And the next 2 armies are the Tokugawa armies. Sin had the elite army that scored over 1200 kills. Then are the 2 Korean defenders, Paladin Bob and Bacon Bite. Predictably, it was a victory for the attackers, but not for the Toyotomi clan. We got 1 point for entering the fortress first, then we got slaughtered. The Tokugawa got 1 point for being the first to attack Korean artillery, 2 points for scoring the most kills, and 3 points for being the first into the fortress plaza. All hail the great Tokugawa. Here are Steve's kills. One of his Wako pirate units did amazingly well, I wonder how. And here are mine. Konishi Yukinaga's Yari Samurai did best, although they could have done better had they managed to get into pike formation, but they never did because of the awkward pathfinding between the walls and the main gate. I hope you enjoyed this battle, leave a like if you did, and thank you for watching.